Most golfers overlook the importance of the lead shoulder in the golf swing, but it can be an absolute game changer when it comes to striking your irons better. We're going to explore that in detail today, and I've got two incredible drills coming up at the end of the video which I'd love you to try, which are really going to get you to feel what the right movement is, and then you're going to transfer that through to your irons. So why is the lead shoulder so important? Well, when we specifically look at ball striking, effectively you swing the club around your body on a big circle. And what your lead shoulder does basically dictates whether that circle is too far behind the ball, too far in front of the ball, too high away from the ground, or maybe even too low underneath the ground. And if you don't get the right blend of those, that's when you're going to hit your flats, your thins, your tops, or just generally be inconsistent. So if we get the lead shoulder moving correctly, I'm going to teach that in this video, you will start to strike it better. So we're going to do this in two sections. We're going to go backswing first, then downswing, and then say we've got those two drills coming up. So the first thing we need to do is understand from this viewpoint, what does that lead shoulder do in the backswing? Now there's a big tendency here for golfers to move this lead shoulder too level. Take a golf club from posture and just pop it across your shoulders. Okay, now the grip of that club is kind of referencing, I should say, the kind of tip of my lead shoulder. Now here's a visual, bear with me. I want you to imagine that you are stood in a swimming pool and the water is right the way up to, let's say, your sternum. So you can see probably the bottom of my kind of zip here. And as you stand in this posture in the swimming pool, like I'm sure you would all do, tip of your lead shoulder would be above the water. In the backswing, what I would love you to do is dip that lead shoulder into the swimming pool. Now what that's effectively doing is it's putting an angle through your shoulders. One of the biggest differences we see with amateurs versus pros is that as handicaps tend to go up, shoulders tend to get flatter. So it wouldn't be uncommon to see someone who really struggles with strike have the shoulders turning too level in the backswing. And what we can see from that little visual would be that lead shoulder might not stay, dry, but it certainly wouldn't be sort of dipping into the swimming pool. So the first little exercise, and you can do this in front of a mirror or do it with a golf club like I'm doing if you haven't got a mirror. Lead shoulder, feel like the tip of it, you've almost got that little bone on the corner there. Visualize that water up to your sternum and then pivot and dip that lead shoulder into the swimming pool. What that's going to do is it's going to mean you've created the right pivot. Pivot is key because we can't really start working on the downswing until we've got the backswing in order, right? We're not going to get the right downswing movement if the backswing movement was poor. So that little simple exercise is going to get your lead shoulder moving down and behind the golf ball. That's really, really key. Now we can start to look at what it does in the downswing. This is the game changer. This is where so many golfers go wrong. What they would often do is they might get that lead shoulder dipping into that swimming pool. What they would do in transition is very quickly pull the shoulder out of the water. When that happens, your weight very often goes onto your back foot. You often see your head moving back. You almost feel that as kind of standing up or losing your body angles. Your circle gets shifted backwards and then you run into those fats, those thins, those really poor strikes or even those high ball flights where you're kind of flipping at it. And it's very often because that lead shoulder pops up out of the water too soon. What great players do is they would go under the water and then in transition, as they're shifting their pressure and their weight, they're keeping that shoulder underneath the level of water, underneath that swimming pool, if you like, before, through impact, they pull it out. And they pull it out aggressively. That's the bit that most miss. Most pull that shoulder out too soon, too much tilt, club dumps here, poor strikes. Great players keep it wet and then pull it out later. How are you going to feel that? Well, we've obviously got that visual. This is how you're going to feel it. This is my bag towel. I've tied a knot in the end, so I want this end to be a little bit sort of heavier. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to put this end as high as I can underneath my armpit. And I'm just going to get my hands and cross them over and put them on my shoulders. So I've got this end now, which is kind of heavy. What I'm looking to do is basically put those two movements together in a golf swing and do it relatively aggressively to see if I can get some flow and some rhythm in this, and on the way through have it hit my back. I'll show you what it looks like and I'll explain why it's going to help you. So it's hanging down, we make our backswing move, and you can see it hits me on the back. Now it's just coming a little bit loose, just make sure it's secure. So we go backswing move, on my back. Backswing move, on my back. Now, with any luck, that looks relatively simple, but there is so much going on there that can help you with your golf swing. The two things that are really key is the timing of it. Watch what happens when I make my pivot back. When I make my pivot back, I have to wait until this catches up before I can really start my transition. So if you're someone who kind of rushes from the top, that's going to feel really different. It's slammed into this shoulder, but not this shoulder. So show that again. Someone who rushes doesn't really get the rhythm. Watch how I have to wait before I can really accelerate it. So I'm looking to accelerate this through into the follow through. And the way I do that is by what my lead shoulder's doing. Now the beauty of this little exercise is that I know if I gave you this for 5 minutes, what you'd start to communicate to me is that the lead shoulder is moving differently, but I think you'll start to feel that your pressure is moving differently as well. What do I mean by pressure? It's what you do to the ground. So for me to really get speed in this and have it hit my back as aggressively as I can, I feel like I have to use the ground. I feel like I have to turn, push and explode. I have to turn, push and explode. And when I push and explode, what am I doing? Well, I'm keeping my lead shoulder underwater before I really pull it out and explode it through. That gets me this feeling of being extended and open here, and that's what puts the speed in this and gets it to hit my back. Again, that is so different to what many of you will feel. Many of you will feel something like this, very, very different. It probably looks strange, doesn't look like I've got the right rhythm. That's your first exercise. Now obviously that is with no golf club. So now we start to introduce the golf club. This is very simply my 6-iron with some ribbon attached to the hosel. Really, really simple. How long is that? 6 feet maybe? Just a bit more? What this is going to do is it's going to give you a really good visual for practice, but actually doing it with a golf club now. It's obviously quite windy today. So what I'm looking to do with this sort of ribbon is get it to feel like it's extended from the golf ball all the way through for as long as I can have that happen. And I would love you to do this by taking your trail hand off at impact. So I'm going to basically make a backswing, lead shoulder is going to go down, I'm going to get that pressure, I'm waiting, then I'm going to pull the lead shoulder back and up as I accelerate the club, take my lead hand off and get this to be as wide as I can all the way through. Again, it's going to be much easier if I can actually show you. Okay, all the way through. Okay, notice I'm taking my trail hand off. And I'm feeling incredibly tall here and incredibly extended. If I do that and the lead shoulder doesn't move correctly, it just feels so different. Just feels awkward. It feels as if the energy in my golf swing is being used early. It feels like I'm wasting it before I need to. And if I do that, I'm never going to get that right impact. I'm never going to be able to get the low point target side of the ball because of how this lead shoulder is moving. So the beauty of this little exercise is that you can do 5, 10, 15 swings without stopping. And that's a great way to do it. So I would continue doing this and just keep going back and through. It's got caught up. And I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling my lead shoulders moving, and I'm really feeling this wide pattern this side of the ball. You might have seen things like this in the past. These are brilliant. They're so instinctive, they're so visual, and they're just a great way to really feel what is happening. So those two little exercises are going to have you moving your lead shoulder better, and that's going to have you instinctively moving your pressure better, which takes your circle, and through the downswing, it shifts it forward and lowers it. And when it gets forward and low point gets target side of the ball, you start to